What's up guys, and welcome to a little bit of a different video today. Today we will talk specifically about SGL League F1 Season 8 on F1 22. We're obviously now just over halfway through the season and it has been a little bit disappointing on my side at least. And today we will look at the mistakes I've made this season and kind of do a little bit of a self-reflection to see what I could have done a little bit better. As you can see, these are my main issues this year, which has been self-inflicted mistakes, which is weird because in the last few years I think staying mistake-free has been a big advantage for myself. And second of all, race starts, but we will start off with self-inflicted mistakes. So we're going to start off with round 1 of the season at Bahrain, the season opener. As a little disclaimer for this race, we tried out crossplay, which was still very undeveloped in round 1, and it was fighting a lot of lag spikes. The audio glitch was also a thing in this round, so that was a little distraction for sure, but I still made some silly mistakes, as we will see in the first clip here on lap 1. Decent start, running 6th behind the Alfa Romeo and Jesper, and I just go for a gap that really isn't there and turn the Alfa Romeo around, and with all the lag I pick up some floor damage and drop all the way down outside of the top 10. So already a really poor start and a self-inflicted mistakes there that was really not necessary. So let's take a closer look at what I did here. So the Alfa Romeo is on the outside and I see the racing line opening up, so I think I can go for the gap, but as soon as I go for the gap closes as the Alfa Romeo goes to the inside, and that is his corner. He has the right to do that since it's the racing line, so that is just totally my fault. Lap 18 now, exiting the pits. Cold hard tires. Completely misjudged the cold tires, wipe out the Alpine, pick up front wing damage. Totally my fault. I just wasn't prepared for how bad the braking was on the cold hard tires. Obviously F1 22 was the first game with the cold tires out of the pits. I knew that, but I still messed up. So round 1 was done. I finished P9 with all the damage. Looking at the race finishing results with Ivan in 4th and Christian in 5th, I think pace-wise I could have finished P4, so a lot of points there left on the board. Round 2 was at Melbourne, Australia, usually a good track for me, and I had a really decent qualifying as well. I think I've even started on the front row, dropped to 4th on the race start, going through the quick right corner, and I just lose it. Simple as that, I just lose it, take out both Red Bulls with me, drop all the way down to last place with damage, have to pit for damage already. Terrible start. And I knew that corner would be different in the race compared to qualifying, and I still, for some reason, as you can see here, I decided to take it flat out. I don't know what I did in that moment, just didn't think and took the corner flat out, even though I knew I couldn't take it flat out, especially on lap 1. Somehow with all the safety cars, I still finished P2, which is my best finish of the season so far. So I got a little bit lucky. On to round 3 at Austria with that beautiful Ferrari retro livery. The race was going really well. I think I even had an outside shot at a possible podium if something went wrong with the 3 leaders, until lap 20 when the safety car came out. And as you can see here, I'm looking to pit, then I'm deciding to stay out, and then I just changed my mind. And pit cut the track, get a 3-second time penalty for going over the grass. I just started self-destructing at this point. I then for some reason decided to spam the X button on my wheel, so I had a slower pit stop as well. And then under safety car, for some reason I decided to take that turn 1 curb, as you can see on the right hand side, and get floor damage. So 3-second time penalty and floor damage, and by the way I was on the wrong tire as well, but later on got saved by another safety car, so this could have been a whole lot worse than it ended up being. I finished P5. If you take the 3-second time penalty away, I should have been P4, so only 2 points lost there, but just a really weird situation where I just started self-destructing suddenly because I panicked and I didn't know what to do with the strategy. And then obviously under safety car, I took that turn 1 curb and damaged my underbody. So another really poor round with some self-inflicted mistakes, unfortunately. The next race was at Kota, and I think you can see where this is going. Still no race this season without an unnecessary mistake by myself. So Kota was going really well, especially the first half of the race. I was running in the top 5. I'm now approaching the one and only pit stop of the race from mediums onto hard tires. I'm entering the pits. And I floor it and go into the pit board. Damage the front wing, and as I'm in the pit lane, I cannot change my wing anymore. So another pit stop for wing change would have been suicide. So I have to nurse that wing damage for the rest of the race, and that's like another 14 laps. So let's take a look at what happened here. I go into the pit lane, and I decide to floor it here, as you can see. I go full throttle, as I thought that the pit lane speeding the AI is going to save me. It didn't. I lost it, hit the pit board, got wing damage, and I'm currently in the pit lane. So as you can see on the right hand side, I'm going through the menu, thinking, okay, quick change of the wing, not that big of a deal. But obviously that option is not available, as I'm currently in pit lane. So the wing won't be changed. Then I just completely miss the turn-in point, get another longer pit stop, and it's really a lot of time lost on the rest of the stint with the damage, of course. Thankfully, in that case, I can say that I still probably got the maximum out of this race. I beat Juan Vasquez in that round by just over a second. Nicolo Falzarese and Vincenzo Torre, the two Alfa Romeos, were probably out of reach, so I still got a top 5 out of it. But once again, a really silly and unnecessary mistake, and they are stacking up at this point. On to Imola, which I think to that point was definitely my strongest race pace-wise. I think I was running top 3 all race long, and I was on for a podium possibly, until a late race safety car. You can see here the safety car restart. We're currently 4th place. Luke Smith jumps the restart. He's getting a post-race penalty for that. The rain is coming down a little bit. A few people are already on intermediates on the back of the grid. Don't want to go 4 wide. Take it really easy. But the cold tires get me here, get some oversteer. I'm in a really treacherous position on the racetrack right now, and contact with Christian Dorman. I get rear-ended as well by, I think it was my teammate Dion Starr. Pick up rear wing damage, as you can see here, I almost lose it, and underbody damage, lose 2 spots, and yeah, 2 laps to go, there's no way I can recover from that. So let's see what happens here. Get loose, get into the dirty part of the track, and at this point I'm in a really treacherous position because all the drivers behind me got a better run. And I'm going for the racing line, but the move isn't really on, since you can see on the right hand side I have to be in line with the rear tires of Christian Dorman to really go for that move. But I don't back down, I stay there, and that's really what caused the collision. So that is definitely my fault. I just didn't want to brake. As you can see, there are arrows right behind me because I thought I would get rear-ended if I brake. That is on me totally. So I still recovered to P7. Now, if we take a look where I was running on the restart, I was ahead of Alexei Kovanemi and ahead of the intermediate runners. I think I should have finished P4, so that is a lot of points left on the board there by that, yeah, really unnecessary mistake. Of course, it was a difficult situation with the positioning of my car on the racetrack at that point, but that is my fault. That is Christian's corner at that point, and that is another very unnecessary mistake. On to the next round at Abu Dhabi, and yes, as you can see, there still hasn't been a race this season that has been totally clean by myself. Abu Dhabi was a really weird race because I felt really comfortable in practice. I felt like I had a decent setup, a decent strategy, but then in the race, in the SRL race, I just didn't have any speed. I was fighting constant understeer, I got oversteer on exit, had no confidence in the car. And this is a safety car restart, that's how I'm running 14th, because I just pitted for a fresh set of hard tires. Going through the wholesale section, I just drop it. Hit the wall, knock off some of my end plate as well, drop to last, in last place, 16th at the moment, and I have to pit as well. So yeah, a really costly mistake. Which was weird because I was taking it really easy because I knew I was gonna struggle on the cold hard tires in the first 2 laps until they got some temperature, but I still dropped it even though I wasn't going full throttle underneath the bridge. Yeah, here's a little comparison between lap 7, which was the last lap before the safety car on medium tires, and lap 11, which was obviously where I spun. At first, if you look at the gearing and the speed, everything looks quite similar. But if you look at the RPM, I got 1,000 more RPM on lap 11 than I had on lap 7, which is a lot. So that is a clear indication for possible possible wheel spin I had on lap 11, and that is all down to the tires being probably too cold and obviously the harder compounded as well. So I just misjudged that, unfortunately, and that really cost me. I still recovered to P8, which was shocking considering where I was after the spin. Probably could have had a P7 without the spin, but generally speaking, that day I just didn't have the speed. But yeah, that was still a mistake I made, which was really uncalled for. Next up, the British Grand Prix round 10, which was a few weeks ago. So between that, I had a few clean races, finally, of course. The British Grand Prix was going quite well. I had really good pace, and then I had to make a move on Vincenzo. We were battling for a few laps at that point, and I was just taking it really easy because I knew that I was a lot quicker and a lot more pace at that stage. Go to the inside at Stowe, just miss the apex completely, move into his line, hit his sideboard, and go for a spin and a little trip through the grass. Just a stupid move, I have to say. I just overshot the corner, got into his line, and basically just spun myself out. And that cost me almost 10 seconds, which I never was able to recover from. As you can see here, I finished P7 behind Vincenzo and behind Luke. Luke had a timing penalty, so if you take around 8 seconds away, which I lost during the spin, I easily could have been in the top 5, so ahead of Vincenzo and Luke. So that spin ultimately cost me 2 spots, which was just really silly, because I knew I was quicker than Vincenzo and I knew I would get that spot at some point, but just too impatient, not a good selection, the move I made, and another, couple of points left there on the board, which was quite annoying, I have to say. And on to round 11 at Monaco, my favorite race of the season. I did a lot of practice for this round, as I usually want to do well at Monaco and get back on the podium. But the qualifying has been less than ideal, let's put it like that. And the first half of the race I spent being stuck behind Cameron, who had front wing damage, and I just could not get past him. And this is now lap 7, coming through the swimming pool section. I just got the snap of oversteer, lose the car, hit the wall hard like Rosberg did back in the day in 2008. And that is my Monaco Grand Prix done after 7 laps. Beautiful helmet, by the way. Let's take a closer look at what happened here. So I'm a little offline for swimming pool, and the car just snaps around. I was really surprised by that because I haven't crashed there all practice, or I didn't even have any moments there. So I was a bit surprised by that, by the oversteer I got. But let's take a close look again on the previous lap. You can see I take a bit of a tighter line, so I'm a little offline on lap 7, and for some reason I go flat out through this section. On lap 6 I was a bit more careful on the already a bit worn tires here, obviously also in the dirty air of Cameron. I'm a bit closer on lap 7, and I take the corner flat out, offline, in the dirty air, and that my car just went left, got wheel spin as you can see from the RPM, and went into the wall hard. So that was Y race done. Finished in 16th, obviously a DNF. Obviously it's a bit difficult to say where I would have finished since I ended my race quite early, but since I was running behind Luke, and I think generally speaking in clean air I did have decent pace, I would say I probably would have finished P8, as it's quite difficult to overtake at Monaco. Now if we look at the standings after 11 rounds, I'm sitting 7th in the standings. My goal before the season was top 5, as I always had a top 5 in the standings in every SRL season. I'm sitting on 72 points, and if we calculate all the points that I've lost this season due to self-inflicted mistakes, it should have been 28 points over a race win that I lost just by silly mistakes that were totally uncalled for. So yeah, after 11 rounds, I have to be honest, I really can't be happy with the performance I put in so far, and I really hope it will get better for the final 11 races of the season. And now we're coming to my other big issue this season, which has been race starts. An issue I've had ever since F1 2017. I feel like I figured it out last year, but obviously this year the throttle is a lot more sensitive again. And the issue is back, and I feel like it's worse than ever. I have 2 main issues, which are getting off the line and being too careful on lap 1. And I brought 2 examples of them, both happening at the same time. So this is Britain, round 10. Starting 6th, I get a really poor jump here because I had too low RPM. I go through the gears, I get already overtaken 3 times before I go enter turn 1. Then I lift off, lose another position momentarily. Then I brake too early going into here. I get dive bombed on the one side, got another car on the outside, and suddenly I'm 10th. I lost 4 spots in the matter of 2 corners without making a really big mistake. And on to the next round at Monaco. Once again, too low RPM. I'm too afraid of losing it on the acceleration. Get a poor jump, get sandwiched into turn 1. Then I brake too early, lose a position to Jesper on the one side. Cameron goes through on the inside there, cuts the corner. And that puts me in a really poor position for the rest of the race. I was stuck behind Cameron for a lot of laps. And I've even brought 2 statistics that visualize how bad it's been this season. So here you can see the difference in position from my starting spot to the spot I had on the end of lap 1. Obviously I took pit stops out of it, which I had to do for damage, for example. This season I only had 2 races where I actually gained positions, as you can see on the right hand side. And in the other rounds, I've lost 6, 10, 6, I've lost 1, another 2, 4, 2, and then I had 2 races where I actually kept my position. So in total, I've lost 28 spots this season on lap 1s. And if we look at a chart here, compared to the last few seasons, it's so bad that it's off the chart. That's how many positions I've lost this season on lap 1s. You can see last season was a big improvement. I actually gained 4 spots for the first time in my SRL career, I think. This season I'm down 28. So that has been a little update on my current SRL season as we're now halfway through the year. Of course there were also some positives, like I feel like my qualifying pace is quite decent. Sometimes I can turn that into a good qualifying result, but I think generally speaking 1 lap pace is really good. I also had some few good races, Australia for example. Of course I made that mistake, but I still recovered to a decent top 2 finish. And apart from my retirement at Monaco, I finished in the points every single race. So there are some positives, but also some negatives, and especially after Monaco I just felt like doing this little self-reflection video on the mistakes I've made this year and what my main issues are, which you can see on the screen of course. Let's hope I improve from here. Let's hope the rest of the season will be good. I have some few podiums there on the way. I'm recording this before Jeddah, before the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix this Saturday, so let's hope we see the upwards trend from then on and I don't have to update this video anytime soon. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video in general. Subscribe to the channel to see more SRL content and also some hot laps I do every now and then. I'll be back on Saturday live at 1 PM UK time with the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in SRL. And yeah, I've been Sandro. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you on Saturday. Goodbye guys.